your title is you're an expert. So you're not an analyst, you're not a principal, you're not a, like whatever the titles are nowadays. You get the title of expert. How do you come into being the title of an expert?
Well,
you have been consistently publishing top tier stuff for quite some time, and I've been a fan for quite some time. So can we talk about, like, maybe before we go into like kind of some of the work that you're doing at Sanofi, which I would love to get into, what was the motivation to start sharing publicly the information that you put out there? Because I mean, we're going to get into it more in the conversation, but like, what's the motivation there? Or why do you do it?
So as a proper psychologist, I would say that it's multifactorial.
What is the most important advanced method or statistical technique that's being underutilized in people analytics? What's a use case you can see for using it, and why are others overlooking it?
Wow.
Welcome to Directionally Correct, a people analytics podcast with Cole and Scott, and today's guest, Ludek Stehlik, people data science expert at Sanofi. Hey, Directionally Correct fans. If you're looking to stay connected to the podcast, make sure to subscribe to our Substack newsletter, watch our videos on YouTube, or listen to the podcast on your app of choice. This podcast is dedicated to you to help educate and entertain you on how to effectively do people analytics. All opinions are our own and do not reflect those of any other organization. So, Ludek, you're from Czechia, I believe. Is that how you pronounce it?
No, Czechia.
Czechia.
Because
okay.
your pronunciation is similar to Chechnya, which is much more to the east. Actually, it's one of the ex-Soviet republics, or maybe it's still part of the Russia, I think, these days.
Yeah, I think Chechnya is still part of Russia. So, yeah, I don't want to make that confusion, but I hear you guys are like the biggest beer drinkers in the world. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I have checked the statistics quite recently, and it's around 150 liters or something. And one peculiar thing is actually that Czechia is the top drinking country per capita, of course, in 30 or more years in a row. So it's not just some random fluke. It's not just a coincidence. It's really something typical for Czechia. But I think for this region in general, right? Because Germans also are pretty heavy drinkers of beer. Yeah. So, but the funny thing is actually that I'm almost how to call it in English. I don't drink the beer at all. This applies also to alcohol. I'm just social drinker, maximally from time to time. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm certain this reference does not go cross culturally, but you're what they call a teetotaler in the U.S. So that's fascinating. So is that like a personal choice, or you just allergic reaction, or what is it?
No, it's just genetic lottery. I think so. I was happy. Yeah. I was happy enough to not to enjoy the beer much. So yeah, but I like other stuff. Actually, I like beerish type of drink. It's I don't know what are the terms for those ingredients for making a beer, but you can make something like a beer, but it's sweet. Usually, it has a flavor of, for example, strawberry or grapefruit or something like that. But the proper drinkers of beer, they don't call it a beer, I think, appropriately. But I like it a lot. So
yeah. Well, I got to admit, I should be more educated on Central and Eastern Europe, considering I used to work at a company that was primarily in Serbia. But I have to. So Czechia, is that a part of the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia?
Well, Czechia, it's a new term or new name for the Czech Republic. So
okay,
especially those sports team when they have to have this name of the country they are from. So Czech Republic, it's pretty long. And when you compare it, for example, with France, Germany, almost all of them have just this one word, a name of their country. So it fits very, very well. on their teachers, etc. So that's one of the reasons why Czechia actually now is now replacing the Czech Republic.
Yeah. So you're at Sanofi, right? And what's your role there?
Well, the official role, it's very long. It's people analytics data science expert. So that's my role. I'm sitting in the people insights and AI team. Actually, it's changed the name along the way. So I started actually now in August, in the middle of August. It was exactly 2 years. I joined Sanofi, and so we started as a people analytics team. Then we became people insights team, and right now we are people insights and AI team. So I'm really curious how this name will evolve. Yeah, so I'm part of that bigger team. There are all around 14, 15 people. It changed over time. We are sitting within PNC, of People and Culture, Strategy, and Portfolio, whose heads reports directly to our PCO.
Yeah.
And within our smaller people insights team, there are several streams. I'm sitting in the data science, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
but we have also employee listening. Now, newly, we will have people insights consultants. Basically, we have also a strategic workforce planning stream. Yeah. So, and I believe there is another one for managing the tools we are using, like Vizier, and change management that is related to usage of those tools. So this is basically the structure of our team. Within our smaller data science team, there are 4 of us currently, 3 FTEs and 1 intern, and yeah, that's basically how we are structured. We are one global team.
Yeah. So I assume that they're based all. Not everybody is in Czechia, so I'm assuming they're all over the place, right?
Yeah, exactly. We are
Okay.
global team. So actually, in
Gotcha.
Czechia, there is no other colleague of mine from my team. People are
They're headquartered in France, though, right?
yeah, but we are worldwide. So
Yeah,
I
worldwide. Yeah.
I have colleagues in Canada, in US, in Hungary, in Germany, and
Yeah.
in France as well.
Well, I have to say, I've been a fan of the team at Sanofi. You guys are a powerhouse. I don't want to name any names out there, but you've got a few people there that I just think are fantastic, and some alumni as well that I also think are amazing. So I wanted to be very complimentary of the team at Sanofi. But I want to come back. You said your title is you're an expert. So you're not an analyst, you're not a principal, you're not a like whatever the titles are nowadays. You get the title of expert. How do you come into being the title of an expert?
Well, this is not something I would invent it. It was the title of the job I applied for, and actually, uh, in retrospective, it fits very well, because that's actually, I'm now thinking a lot about what should be my next career steps. I'm definitely not a managerial type. I already tried that, and yeah, I can emulate some of the managerial skills and competencies, but not in the long term, I believe. So actually, I think that this expert track is something that fits me well. So actually, yeah, I would like to keep this title for some time at least.
Oh, it definitely fits. I think, and again, I'm not trying to inflate your ego or anything here. I think you might be the most brilliant person in technically in communicating advanced people analytics topics globally. Like, and I mean, in all sincerity, like one of the when I get feedback about the podcast, which isn't that often, but a lot of times it'll be from junior people and saying we want to hear more from people who are doing the work. And the trade off for me in the position that I'm in is most of the junior people either A, aren't allowed to talk in this type of format, or B, they're just nervous and don't want to do it. But I see somebody like you, Ludek, like you have been consistently publishing top tier stuff for quite some time, and I've been a fan for quite some time. So can we talk about like maybe before we go into like kind of some of the work that you're doing at Sanofi, which I would love to get into, what what was the motivation to start sharing publicly the information that you put out there? Because I mean, we're going to get into it more in the conversation, but like, what's the motivation there, or why do you do it?
Yeah, so as a proper psychologist, I would say that it's multifactorial.
Yeah,
So actually,
I
first of
expected nothing less than the answer
yeah,
from
yeah,
you
yeah,
that it was
yeah,
going to be multifactorial. Thank you.
multifactorial, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it depends, right? Also, so actually, it's funny thing is it over funny. It started from very pragmatic reasons because before Sanofi, I was working at Time is Limited, Prague-based startup, something like Worklytics. I hope
Yeah.
that I can say names of the companies, right? That
Yeah,
are
I
still
mean,
okay.
that's according to the agreements you've got with them. I mean, you can say whatever you want right here.
Yeah, true. So I was working at Time is Limited, and before that in Deloitte, where I was responsible for people analytics services in Central and Eastern Europe. And yeah, so I was asked to put and write and publish some content marketing stuff. So I started to write about people analytics in a way that would be, a little bit technical, but still digestible also for people that are decision makers, that are from HR and don't have very deep technical knowledge. So that's how it started. I found out that I like it.
Yeah.
And especially at Time is Limited, where it was at the time relatively completely new thing. We were doing this uh, network analysis and processing, collaboration, metadata, this kind of stuff. So there was a lot of stuff to write about, new stuff. Uh, yeah, so that's one factor or one reason why I'm writing these days. Second one, definitely, I would like to reciprocity. Simply speaking,
Yeah.
I want to give back what I got and still getting from other people. Uh, it's also partially a selfish thing because I don't only post about the stuff about I'm doing, but I still thinking how to do it differently. So I actually get pretty good feedback, inspiration, ideas how to do things differently. So it's kind of prompting the public space, and I'm getting very good ideas and inspiration. And also, yeah, I also like because again, many people don't know that a large part of my career I was partially academic. So let's say 25% of my time I was working at the Charles University here in Prague, Department of Psychology, um, with a focus on cognitive psychology. So I'm not IO psychologist. I'm cognitive psychologist by training, but with big love to mathematics, statistics. So that's why I ended in this field, I think. And so I like to pass on the knowledge. I like the teaching part of this job, but at the very same time, I'm pretty strong introvert. So this social part of the job, I didn't always enjoy a lot. So actually, this way of passing on the knowledge is more comfortable for me. So and I enjoy it, and yeah.
Well, I want you guys to know who are listening right now how much arm twisting it took for me to get Ludek to come on here. I have been trying for so long to get Ludek. I mean, we've cited probably your articles more than anyone else on the podcast. Maybe Scott Rada, and he's a previous guest as well, who's doing the work. Also, just publishes excellent content. But Luke, I'm really grateful that you're willing to talk because I know that it can be challenging with everything that's going on. And sometimes even companies, they don't really like it when you publish externally if you're doing this type of stuff. So want to give Sanofi credit for allowing you to do what they're doing as well. It's really great. But I want to come back to something you were saying about being an academic. So were you an academic while you were also working at the same time? Because you said, so how does that work in if other people are interested in doing that kind of thing? How do you partner with universities to do that? Do you think it's mutually beneficial for the university and the organization in that arrangement? Just talk about what that looks like, because I don't see that happening very often.
Yeah, definitely. It's very. I think it's useful for both sides because in academia you have this space to explore new stuff that you cannot see that will be useful for some practical use cases. So you can freely explore. Actually, that's also one of the reasons why I'm writing this stuff, because it gives me an opportunity and also excuse to spend some time on learning and exploring new stuff. And also vice versa, because when you are teaching the students the stuff, then you can tell them, how these relatively abstract things can be actually useful in practice, because you know it from your own practice. So from this perspective, it was very beneficial in both ways. At the very same time, it was difficult to combine it, especially when I found my wife, and we had a family. Then from the time, it was very tough to coordinate it. I must say that you have to devote more than, officially, okay, it was 25% versus 75 or 80%, but actually you have to devote to it much more time. So there were no weekends or only partial weekends. Also during the summer holidays, yeah, so it was not feasible in the long term. So actually, it's already 8 years I left academia, and now
Okay.
I'm fully only in a business. But retrospectively, I would not change it. It was really, I think, enriching, and it gives you yeah, I think unique perspective, that you are well oriented in those are the arcane technical details of various methods,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you are pushed by the business to use this
Yeah.
stuff in a reasonable way, and to make some uh, simplifications that make it
Yeah.
digestible. So I would recommend it for young people who don't have so many
Yeah.
tasks, or don't have their own family, children. So yeah, why not? But I suppose it's also very specific for the location where we are living. I suppose that the educational systems are different in different countries,
Yeah.
so may not be feasible in other countries, in US, etc., where maybe you are even
Yeah.
much more. Hmm?
It's definitely feasible. Like, so I've taught at Louisiana Tech, TCU, and SMU at different points in my career. And so but I think the researcher, like, I just feel like teaching, and it is a huge sacrifice. Make no mistake, teaching while you're working full time. But I think even research itself, because it is so time intensive and it takes sometimes multiple years to get research published as well, it's like a whole different level of sacrifice that you would be making. And so I just think it's fascinating that you were able to do that. I know people are allowed to do that in certain organizations, but it's just I don't know if it's advisable, because it's just such a commitment to make.
Definitely, and also that will be one of the reasons I was not so successful academic. I would suggest by assessing based on some common measures. So that's also one thing you must
Yeah.
pay.
Well, you mentioned you're a cognitive psychologist. For people who aren't familiar with that discipline,
Hmm.
can you talk about kind of what it is, and then what does cognitive psychology bring to the world of work in people analytics as well? Like, what's the unique perspective that you have?
Wow. Well, so cognitive psychology, I think the name already suggests that uh, it's about scientifically studying how human, not only human, but usually human mind works. Uh, Usually you can use various methods, experimental methods, but also mathematical modeling and simulations methods. So actually that's the part I was working on. Both my master thesis and PhD thesis were about mathematical modeling, how people solve various type of problems in language and in abstract reasoning. Yeah, so that's very briefly about cognitive psychology, and yeah, well, unique perspective. Not sure. Well, I think at least from the perspective I used in my studies, it was about this ability to mathematically model the soft stuff, the people stuff. So something you would think that it's not possible to actually express using some mathematical statistical models. So actually, it's possible, sure, with some simplification, but still, it provides you with some interesting insights that you can utilize, including, and it was also part of my study or my work was this. It's called cognitive psychometrics. It's not like measuring simply, I don't know, intelligence, which is commonly used within IO psychology and IO psychology work in practice, but it's about using uh, complex mathematical models of how specific cognitive processes work, like imagine categorization. And actually, those models have specific parameters, and based on people behaviors in specific situations, you can estimate how those parameters differ across people, and you can use it for uh, measuring differences between people in parameters that can be psychologically interpreted. So these are not just some, how to say it, random and non-meaningful uh, parameters that change across people, but they can be uh, meaningfully interpreted psychologically. So
Yeah.
they can have some real world impact on how people behaves in different situations.
Yeah.
Like for example, if they can, I don't know, if they perceive properly their body shape, and so their eating behavior that is related to that. So yeah, I think that this modeling part, is very useful also for people analytics work, where you are also applying
Yeah.
mathematical models on some people processes or company or corporate processes. So
Well, let's dig into that. So, what are some examples of like what you're working on at Sanofi where you're able, I'm just making an assumption, you're able to apply some mathematical models or analytics to tackling organizational problems? Like, what are some examples of that? And can you talk about it at all?
yeah, sure. So in general, there are 3 4 basic types of problems we are
Yeah.
working on, and now I'm talking rather about the data science stream
Yeah.
of our team, because the broader team, they are working on more things. We are only uh, touching.
We only want to hear about the cool stuff you're doing, Ludic. You don't have to talk about everybody else.
Okay. Yeah, so definitely impact evaluations. That's something we spend quite a lot of time on. So
So, what
imagine
is that?
what is that? Yeah. So whether some policies, programs actually had impact on the outcome of interest. Currently, unfortunately, we are limited usually to, let's say, people outcome variables. So imagine, for example, some sentiment from employee surveys and pulses, but we would like to get to more business related data, but
Yeah.
it's pretty difficult because the data are on different various places, and it's still difficult for us to put them together. But it's work in progress, so hopefully very soon uh, we will show some insight that will be even more relevant for the business. Uh, Regarding specific examples of those impact evaluations, what I could share. Uh, one nice example was an analysis how we are using a award platform where people can give bravos or kudos to their colleagues. So we were actually measuring whether usage uh, of this platform has impact on how people perceive how they are rewarded, and whether people value their work, etc. And we were also measuring what specific characteristics of those bravos, because it's not about just sending a simple message. Actually, it's about sending a message, potentially also some monetary value, but uh, you can send various type of messages, right? And so we were measuring what characteristics of those messages have the biggest impact. So that was potentially useful a project and insight, because this in our service it's relatively frequently reported that this recognition is very important for good employee experience at our company. So supporting this part of employee experience by this research can have impact itself.
So
So
how do you do that, Ludek? I can't invite an expert on here and then not talk about how much expertise they have on these things. So how do you do all that?
so in this specific case, we were using basically simple regression adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
So we were taking into account various things that could actually influence both whether people will give the Bravo and how they will feel about the employee experience, and especially recognition part of that. And so that was this type of analysis we used. Besides that, we are also relying when trying to evaluate the impact. So then we are also using the principle of those staggered rollouts. So we are utilizing, for example, the fact that some people finish the training naturally before the measurement of the
Yeah.
employees
Is
sentiment
there
or
any is there any kind of like random assignment, or is it just purely the staggered nature of the research? I mean, that's a pretty advanced scientific methodology that you would be employing. So that's pretty cool if that's like a natural experiment that you're running.
yeah, exactly. Actually, we wrote an article about it, right? So
Yeah.
let's suppose that
I mean, I didn't want to tip my hand to it, but yeah, we did.
Yeah, so in this case, well, there is self-selection to some degree, so you cannot rely solely on this simple fact. You still have to control for the other things that actually could cause that some people apply and go into the training before some date, and as other people later. So, but still, this provides you very nicely with this thing that those people who manage to finish the training after this measurement, so they cannot show the potential impact on some specific outcome variables
Mhm.
on in that measurement period. But as I said, still, it's usually, and it's very rare when you can randomly assign people to different groups. So even in this case, you still have to control for those potential confounders. So usually we are relying on some socio-demographic and organizational variables. Big advantage is that those who are organizing those programs and trainings, they know what is nomination process. So this also helps a lot, to uh, disentangle the potential reasons why some people started sooner and other later. Uh, Another very useful situation from this perspective is uh, how to call it, waiting kind of a waiting list.
Yeah.
So, for example, when measuring the impact of gigs, uh, people can participate in. So there first you have to show the interest, right, into being in some working within some gig, and then you have to wait some time before actually some gig will occur that will fit your needs, your requirements. So this pretty naturally creates these two comparison groups where we have people who groups from we have people from two groups, and in both groups people showed an interest in participating on a gig, but only part of them were allowed to because of simple opportunity occurred or not. So that was another very nice situation configuration that allow us to estimate whether simple participation on a gig would improve your satisfaction with the career opportunities at the company, whether it will boost your career, whether you will make a bold move or not. So that's another thing and great opportunity. I think that in many companies occurs. Yeah. And besides that, there are some other fancy tools now relying more on machine learning, like double machine learning, but basically just more fancier version of regression control. But also we are experimenting with these. And a big actually, for me as a psychologist, and I believe it's quite common also for others, we were not very heavily trained in those causal inference methods. We were trained in those experimental designs, especially compared to economists. And the big advantage of our team is that this data science team lead is economist or econometrician. So actually, she introduced us into those methods, and now we are trying.
DAGs. What are DAGs?
Yeah, DAGs. Nice way how to visualize, formalize the supposed causal model, the data generating process. So also,
what's the relationship between a DAG and an ONA chart?
whoa, they are both very sexy.
Yeah.
You will get a lot of likes on the LinkedIn when you use them in your post.
Get so many likes. People
Yeah,
love bubbles and lines. I don't know why. They just love them.
true. Yeah, so actually we are using both. That's another. If I should leave the topic of impact evaluation, another type of projects we were delivering were related to ONA, the active one. We are trying to get also to some passive data, but it's pretty difficult because of the data privacy. But we will see how far we can get. But so far, it was about asking people very explicitly about who they consider to be, an influencer, with whom they collaborate the most, where they are looking for an advice. This type of questions we used. Yeah, but let's hope that in the future we will get also to those passive data sources.
Can I come back to the point about like the econometrician for a second? And I was kind of joking around about DAGs, even though that is a very useful way of visualizing, and it contributes to the causal inference that we'll talk about here in a minute. Is it like, I'll be honest, so one of the reasons why I felt like psychology didn't focus on causal methods was because it was considered like sort of heretical to do causal based research, and we always just kind of believe that you base kind of systemic ways of showing multiple viewpoints on the same data, convergent, discriminant, nomenological, different types of validity in these situations, but you never really said A caused B. And that was sort of, again, heretical to say. What do you think has shifted to make that more palatable in the last 15 years, let's say?
Tough question. Honestly, I don't know. Well, maybe this Nobel Prize for uh, those causal inference methods. I don't remember the name of the guys, but maybe that helped. That it
Like
was this public
like the
recognition.
Judea Pearls of the world.
It's not the name. I was thinking
Yeah.
about Angrist. I think is the surname of one of the guys.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, this public recognition, I suppose, could help. Uh, Very hard to say. Don't know. What is your hypothesis?
Well, I think it's still heretical in a lot of circles, so I don't know if it's necessarily changed. I would say I think amongst the younger generations of PhDs, I think that there's a lot more openness to these types of ways of looking at things, but I would still think it's an extremely minority viewpoint. But I think it's growing. I think some of the things that we've even talked in this conversation today would still be very foreign to even people with PhDs. And so I'm glad we're having this conversation. And I'll just be honest with you, one of the things I struggle with this podcast, especially as it's grown in popularity, like random HR people will listen to this and they'll have no clue what we're talking about. And first of all, I'm like, why are you listening to this podcast? Like, it's like a people analytics podcast, but I think it's also a testament that people are trying to learn and grow their skills in these areas. And so I kind of want to like take them into the pool, but not necessarily push them into the deep end. But sometimes, frankly, I want to go in the deep end because that's interesting and cool, and it's why I want to have people on like you, and then the people, frankly, who are kind of our core listeners who are already in the deep end, they complain that we don't get technical enough sometimes. And so it's that balance you have to play here. But I guess going back to your example about O&A, like what are ways that you mentioned it's active listening, so it's not passive. You're identifying key influencers, but how would an organization use that information, and what gets you excited about it other than the dots and the lines?
Yeah, well, the use case in our case was very very simple. So we were interested really in those potential influencers, people who are very well connected within the network and who can uh, connect disparate parts of the network. So those brokers or the bridges. This terminology is pretty often used in this context, and the stakeholders they wanted to know who those people are for change management initiatives, as I suppose it applies to many companies. There is one transformation project after another, and people quite often complain that they are not well informed. They don't understand why this stuff is happening. So one of the way how to improve that is that you inform very well uh, some selected people, and they can then spread this information further. So in I think in yeah, we were running this type of analysis 3 times so far, and this was always the use case or the purpose of the project, just in different parts of the organization.
Yeah.
So it was simple as that. Nothing very complex from this perspective.
What about I know one of the things that you told me in preparation is you guys are working with skills and trying to become a skill-based organization, and I think you're doing some pretty sophisticated work in that space. Can you talk about it at all?
Uh, well, maybe it was a kind of misunderstanding. I don't consider it to be
Okay.
very, very sophisticated. Actually, in this case, we
I'll
were
let you be humble about this and
not.
exhibit your humility. I'm sure there are countless organizations that would be impressed by what you're doing. So continue.
Well,
Caveat, caveat, caveat.
well, in this specific case, what we needed to do is to map new skills from new skills taxonomy on existing job profiles. But those job profiles were wrongly assigned to people. So there was a lot of noise. So what we did, that we use pretty basic, I think, NLP techniques, so natural language processing techniques, now including the large language models, to make this assignment of those job profiles and job families, job groups properly, with some human oversight. And so that then this mapping of new skills from new skills taxonomy on those job profiles would be correct. So that was the fancy advanced stuff we were doing. And
Yeah, so simple. Everyone can do it, right?
yeah, well, I think that these days should be pretty simple. There is a lot of
So how do you? Well, if it's so simple, how do you do it? I want to like you mentioned what you did, but how did it happen?
well, basically, you just have to have access to the data. So it means in this case the textual description of people's job profiles. Then you have to access also to then the skills, the skills taxonomy thing. You also have to have some source of truth, at least for part of those data. So then you can say what is correct, what is not, and then you are just looking for similarities using embeddings that you can generate now using LLMs. Simply speaking, where the embeddings just a numerical representation of the word sentences, paragraphs, whatever. And important thing is that it encodes the meaning of this stuff, and then you can measure the similarity, and then you can attach to those job profiles potential good candidates. When you have very high certainty, you can keep it as it is. When there is some uncertainty, then you will flag it, and people reviewers will manually check it and make the proper assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So and
here's the
yeah,
problem. Here's the problem with experts, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek because your title is expert. They don't realize that what they're doing requires an incredible amount of expertise. And so what you just described, I imagine to 95% of people who are listening, was fascinating, eye-opening, and they've probably not heard it before. So I really appreciate you sharing that, Ludek. Thank you.
you are welcome. But my personal experience is from conferences that are relatively high level, and I speak with the people analytics,
Yeah.
not experts, but managers or directors. They know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah, they do. Well, here's the thing, and I suffer from this as well. Is I suffer from the disease I call looking up. So what does looking up mean? Is you see the people you admire and you look at what they're doing and you focus on it as if that's what everyone is doing, right? And so one of the things that I realized, especially for some of the jobs that I've had that got me out into what I would call like the true people analytics community, the global community, let's say it's somewhere between 30 and 50,000 people, talking to a pretty substantial number of those folks, is you realize that many people do not share our backgrounds. Many people do not come to the conversation with the exact same skill set or toolkit that we have. And if you're only looking upwards, you realize that you're getting to a smaller and smaller and smaller community of people that are extremely sophisticated. And it's great to look up to them. But the broad community, I think we suffer from being able, like one of the things that I was speaking at a conference earlier this year with David Green, and we were posed the question of like, if you wanted to improve people analytics, what would you do? And I said, a lot of people focus on kind of raising the ceiling of kind of who are those people you look up to the most. I focus more on raising the floor of let's build out the entire community and their skill set. And so I want to be extremely complimentary to you today about some of the things that you share, because I think they'll help contribute to raising the floor rather than just looking upwards. What do you think about that?
Yeah, makes sense. Well, it's well-known psychological phenomenon, right? I think it's called curse of knowledge.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the idea you had sounds very reasonable and doable,
Yeah.
I believe.
All right. Well, you ready? You want to do some Cole's Corner?
Yeah, I don't remember what is it, but yeah, let's
Well, you'll remember
go on it.
shortly. Welcome to Cole's Corner. All right. My first question for you I got in rapid fire. What is the best Eastern European country and why? This question always fails. I try to like different variations of it. No one likes it. I'm going to keep doing it until it works.
Hey, y'all, I'm Lee Cage Jr., and I'd like to invite you to listen in to my podcast, 15 Minutes with. 15 Minutes with rising stars and seasoned disruptors, thought leaders, and change agents who are sharing how they're reshaping work, rethinking worth, and reimagining what's possible. This is fast paced, heartfelt, and unfiltered. These aren't just conversations, they're catalysts. So tune in, elevate, share the shift. 15 Minutes with, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. What is the best Eastern European country and why?
Yeah, Eastern European country. So it's good that I have to say Czech Republic or Czechia because Czechia is Central European country.
That's
So
why
I
I
can,
said Eastern. I got it.
yeah. So
Technicality.
then probably Slovakia. I have to say Slovakia because in the past we were one country. So Slovakia, and now why? Well, this is one of the reasons that we have very close relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice
So what?
country, mountains. People are very nice. Very, how to say it? I don't have the proper words, but you feel very well with them. At least with majority of them, I know from that country. I have several friends. I can say 3, 4 friends from that country. So that's also contributed, I think, to this choice. So Slovakia.
Fantastic. I love that answer. Thank you for sharing that, Ludek. Next question I've got for you is what's the place you've never been to that you'd most like to go and why?
Wow. Well, maybe because I'm speaking with you as an American, I maybe Grand Canyon. Uh,
Okay. I like that.
Definitely, I saw a lot of photos. I saw it in several movies, and yeah, and given my introverted demeanor, I think that it would fit very well to my temperament. Yeah, so
Yeah. Just
let's
a
choose that one.
deep, dark void of nothingness that would appeal to the introverts. I love the answer. All
And
right.
also, I very like watching the sky. So I suppose that you have to have very nice, I mean, night sky, watching the stars. So,
I love it. That's a great answer. Why do you do what you do, Ludek?
mm, I was born that way. I think the long chain of causes and effects, and yeah, it's simple as that.
That's such a cerebral answer. All right, I'll let you get away with it. I got one big question for you. What is the most important advanced method or statistical technique that's being underutilized in people analytics? What's a use case you can see for using it, and why are others overlooking it?
Wow. Uh, thinking, thinking. Well, actually, recently I've published a post about the basket analysis, which is
Okay, tell us
definitely
about it.
which is definitely underutilized in people analytics. But at the very same time, I don't think it's a very useful method. I for my whole career, I found only one use case where I found it useful.
Is it benefits?
No, no, no. It was about finding combinations of uh, communication styles. I think it was the stuff I was working on.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm, 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 mm. But this could be a candidate, but not very good one, not strong one. Still thinking.
I'm gonna let you sit with it.
What would be your tip or your suggestion on that?
Well, I think we're going to talk about it here in a second in terms of our article with causal inference, but I think it's a lot of the methods that are described in there. I thought that might have been the direction you would go. I always have my predictions of what I think guests are going to say. They never say them, so I'm just like I'm batting like such a poor batting average for these kind of questions. But I like basket analysis. I think that's a good answer. I'm assuming what you're talking about when you say basket, you like a basket of goods in like the economist terms of like, yeah, if you insert one thing or another. I've seen people talk about it in terms of like the employee value proposition in like what like kind of like a conjoint type of way of looking at a basket analysis of like, is this kind of similarly like if you had these three things in terms of benefits? The problem, at least in the United States, why people it's not particularly useful is because you have to fairly distribute benefits. So you can't just like give certain benefits to some people and not to other people. And so it ends up it's like cool analysis to do in theory, but not something you can implement in practice. But I think that's a good candidate. Have you had a chance to kind of think of your answer though?
Yeah, let's stay with that. But
all right,
those causal methods are good candidates as well. But I thought that given that we will discuss them again and we discussed them already, they are
well,
out of the
why don't
game.
we just go there? Let's do some what am I reading, and let's talk about the first one on the article that you and I wrote together. It's called Beyond Prediction, Exploiting Organizational Events for Causal Inference in People Analytics. And I think it kind of starts out on a jokey term because you put a meme in here of like neural nets versus causal inference, and causal inference is beating up the neural nets. I thought that was funny. But if you go through this, and I think I can say this because I want to give you, as the first author, you were the brain behind this article, and I just contributed around the margins. This is the best resource ever done on how to utilize, and it's so comprehensive. Like I don't think people realize like how much good information was packed into this article about different causal methods and how they can be utilized in people analytics. I'm just kind of scrolling through it here for the folks on video. How to do different types of experiments, when to pull different data sources, like research methods and designs, the DAGs that I mentioned earlier, and even additional resources here. But I wanted to ask you, like, I really think this was almost like a lifetime achievement award type of article for using causal inference in the workplace for people analytics. What was the motivation behind this one, and what were some of kind of the high points in terms of causal inference of this article we wrote together?
Well, the motivation was to clarify my own thinking, or to put all the stuff I learned so far into one place in a nicely packaged way. Yeah, that was the major motivation to write it down. And actually, we were talking about some other topics, right? But this one resonated the most, maybe also because you think that it's very important but still underutilized methodology in people analytics space. Yeah, but for me it was a very good opportunity for really to put the stuff into one place, so actually you can then reference it not only to other people but also to myself, because still, despite the fact that those impact analysis or evaluation projects are pretty are one of the most common projects we are working on, it's still not our daily work, so you easily forget the stuff. So yeah, it's a good thing you can get back to and learn the stuff again. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like sorry.
No, finish what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like writing a good comment to your code. So when you back to it after 1 or 2 years, then you can start where you ended. So
Yeah,
I think it's similar. It's just a little bit longer comment than usual. But actually, this is something I'm fighting with from the very beginning of my academic career. Both my thesis master and PhD were very, very, very long, much longer than they should be.
Well, and the people who did read the article can blame me for taking out a lot of the additional resources and code and commented code on the article because you wanted to include it in this one, but it just wouldn't make it from a link standpoint. But I guess reach out to Ludek if you want additional resources on these topics. I apologize in advance, Ludek, about how much spam you're about to get. But regardless, why don't we move on to the next one? This was a LinkedIn post that you made, and it was actually while I was at a conference, and I wanted to give you interesting. So you made a LinkedIn post on O&A as a tool for exploring the skill space at your company, and I want you to kind of explain it here in a second. But while I was at this conference, 4 different people came up to me and talked about, oh my God, did you see this LinkedIn post about a guy who mapped, skills to O&A? This was so interesting and unique. And so I wanted to give you credit for that because this one clearly made an impact in your hypothesis earlier about dots and lines really compelling people with likes on LinkedIn is true. But this one really was interesting. And so maybe you could explain it to folks, like how can you use O&A in the skill space?
Yeah, well, actually, this is just how to call it, POC or MVP, or just thinking out loud about some idea I had. So definitely, this is not something that would be implemented in our company. So it was really just, inspiration, and I wanted to hear from others what they think about it, whether they whether they find it useful, maybe they already use it. I remember from some of the comments that they mentioned that some of those skills taxonomy providers and vendors that actually have something like that available within their tool. But the idea was to find how individual skills are connected within the company based on what skills people have in their profiles. So actually, you would use this information as the consumer, the employee. You would see if now I'm in possession of those skills. So what would be the potentially shortest path and the easiest path for me to learn some new skill I could use, or vice versa, looking for some skill that would bring me to completely different, for me, new part of this skill space. So if I would like to make a change in my career, bigger one, so I could try to find a way that would be more simple for me possible, or the shortest one, despite it will be bringing me somewhere completely on some completely different place than where I am right now. Still, there is one shortest path, and I can get at least some inspiration. What new skills I should try to acquire first to get as fast as possible to those new parts of this skill space. So that was, yeah, as I said, this is kind of I mentioned that as one reason why I'm writing those posts, because I can get very, very quickly feedback. People write to me into the comments or via direct messages, and very often they have very good comments and ideas and suggestions how to improve it, or what are the problems, issues I didn't think about and I should think about. So yeah, that was the idea, and I'm yeah, I know that it had pretty big engagement, but I didn't know that people were discussing that during some conference. It was very surprised for me.
Well, I pulled it up on my screen so those who are watching on video can see it. You called it, I know this is a proof of concept, but it called it Ego Network for Data Visualization as a Skill. So you show data visualization in kind of the middle of this O&A chart and all the connected and interconnected skills that are related to it. And one of the things that you see is data visualization is connected to people analytics via storytelling as a skill, which I thought was interesting. But the other part that I found interesting is actually the data, algorithms, AI, coding, Python was actually on the left-hand side. So it's interconnected, kind of disparate from people analytics, human resource metrics, data reporting, and data literacy, which were on the right-hand side. And I typically associate those two things together. But actually, from some of the research that I've done, as I've seen that there's a, let's call it an underabundance of technically sophisticated AI native people in people analytics. And so I think what you've unearthed here is that they're actually in kind of disparate camps right now. Is like maybe if you put it kind of like advanced versus more basic people analytics, that there's actually an advanced camp on the left side and a more basic on the right hand side. And I think this is one of the reasons why I want to have people like you on the podcast is to talk about how do we bridge this gap between kind of the more advanced topics and the basic topics. So I think this was not just a cool chart, but it actually unearths kind of some interesting data in the skill space that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, makes sense actually. Yeah, as you described the chart, and I realized that I read something similar, or the very same information from your book. So by the way, big
Yeah, I
congratulations
think
to
it's far from me.
your. I'm well pretty close to the end of the book. So very nice job.
Oh, look, a free endorsement. Well, thank you for that, Ludek. All right, let's hit on the last one, which I feel like this one is insightful, and it's a new look at something that is over talked about, which is kind of predicting turnover and stay intentions. But you kind of took a new angle on of talk versus walk. So predictors of staying intentions versus actual quitting behaviors, and you were able to plot the staying intentions versus actual resignations, and showing how there were different beta coefficients that were comparable, overestimated, and underestimated in the relationship to these quitting. You want to explain this one and talk about why it's kind of neat and breaks new ground?
Yeah. So if I remember it correctly, it's again some time ago. I wrote about and I ran the analysis, but yeah, well, I think I wrote about it in the post itself that I read some social psychology book.
Richard LaPierre, 1934 study.
Exactly.
Yep.
By the way, I'm very bad on names, so I don't remember the names of sometimes even of my colleagues. Yeah. But by the way, or anyway, in this case, yeah, the conflict or no conflict, but difference between what people say they will do and what they do in the end intrigued me, or I started to think about whether something similar we can find in the people analytics space or organizational life. And I thought about this loyalty item that is one of the best predictors of employee attrition. Many analysts or people on LinkedIn or also in other sources mentioned that's actually one of the simplest way when you want to predict who has a higher risk of leaving the company, and then simply use the answers from or on this simple item in annual or biannual employee survey. But yeah, then simple curiosity kicked in, and I was thinking about, okay, so it's a very good predictor, but still maybe it's actually there was another thing I remember. Again, I'm actually not sure whether there is some systematic research on the topic, but people often underestimate how big impact on their job satisfaction will have, how long time they will have to spend commuting to the job. So first they are, super happy that they got this very nice, interesting job, irrespective how far it is from their home. But after a while, they realize that actually, this first excitement uh, uh, diminishes or is not there, and then this fact that you have spend so much time on commuting to the work, it will cause that you will in the end leave the job. Actually, this was something I experienced myself with one of my previous jobs. So this thing prompted me to let's give it a try, and let's try to use data. But they will confirm that there are actually differences between what people consider important for staying when they are in a situation when they are still within the company and when they actually were in the end left. So what?
Well, I think you've hit on an important point, which I know economists and political scientists talk about this, which is the difference between stated perceptions or beliefs and revealed perceptions or beliefs, right? So someone states that they are going to quit for this reason or that reason or why they're dissatisfied with the company, but the revealed preferences is where you figure out what is actually motivating behavior. And I think the education for in the people analytics space is organizations sometimes over-index, especially using surveys, to stated preferences, and they're not indexing to what's really the drivers of behavior, which would be those revealed preferences. And so I think that this you've elucidated an example of how that plays a role with stay intentions and actual quitting behaviors. And so I love this type of education and how it's contributing to the field. But Ludek, this has been fantastic having you on today, man. I'm so thrilled that you're here.
Thank you, and thank you for very nicely picking the main message of this post. I would not do it better.
I'm like a walking LLM. I'm just summarizing the email. Did you mean to say this? This is what you meant. Anyway, that's stupid joke. All right. I think we've gotten to the end of this. Ludek, you're one of the most brilliant minds in the space. Appreciate you joining us. Any final words before we wrap up?
Nothing special. Just thank you for having me here, and I enjoyed a lot, despite being pretty nervous. I believe that it was pretty visible and hearable, but otherwise I enjoy it. I thought it will be much worse. It was good experience in the end. Thank you.
Well, I kept my promise. I mean, I told you it wasn't going to be so bad, first of all. Second of all, you did excellent, and I don't think anybody's going to be able to tell that you were nervous. If anything, they're going to think more highly of you as an expert because you've explained some pretty sophisticated, and I know you don't think they're sophisticated, but some pretty complicated things in very accessible manners. So I appreciate you doing that too. The other thing people don't realize is because of the time difference, this is like way late at night for you on a Friday night. So you're making a sacrifice to be here when you could be spending time with your family. So just everybody should be really grateful for you doing this. So thank you so much. And you've been listening to Directionally Correct, the People Analytics podcast with Colin Scott, and today's guest, Ludek Stehlik. Thanks for joining, Ludek.
Thank you. Bye-bye.